Again, thank you so much for being here. So I'm going to go ahead and share the screen with you, my screen with you guys, so that you can see this document that talks about the color wheel. Yeah, I'm hoping everybody can see the screen right now. Can we see the screen, everybody? All right. So this first shot is of our color wheel. And at the top, it says an OLO evolving color wheel. And that means that as we release new colors, this color wheel will continue to change and shift slightly. That's all that it means. But these are the current colors that we are releasing to start with, 128 colors and some grays and blacks. And I'll talk a little bit more about those as we move through the pages here. But you can see we've got kind of your basic color names all the way around the wheel. And then each individual section, like red, violet, has its own color code and name for each color. So it's pretty basic, pretty easy to follow. So this page here is kind of like our master color chart. And what we wanted to do was not just pick some colors and then create colors later that may or may not fall properly into our system. And I think that's happened with other marker color systems out there. So what we did is we kind of created this big master chart, which you can see now on your screen. And what that chart is telling you are all the possible colors that we could potentially make out of this system and keep it confined into a box and into a space. It's really easy to follow and track and understand where your color falls. We won't make all of these colors, but we'll make a lot of them. I think there's around 1,300 or 1,400 colors, something like that in this system. I'm going to take you down to one more chart here. It breaks that big chart into 3 different sections. This top line you can see are the color families: red, violet, violet, blue, green, green, yellow, green, yellow, yellow, orange, orange, and orange, red. And then you can see we've got numbers across the top of each chart, and those are the hues. And then the colors to the left, 0, 0, 0, 1, all the way down through 8, are the values. And the reason we have these 3 sections broken down is this is the very top box. I'm moving my mouse around here. I don't know if you can see it or not, but I'm kind of like talking with my hands on the screen. So if it helps, great. If not, I'm sorry. But the top box are the brightest of our colors. And then as you drop down to the middle box, it's about 50% desaturated colors of the top box. And then the third one down is about 70% desaturated. So they're just muted colors of the same hue at the top. So for example, on the color cap of the marker, which I don't know if the screen can be seen yet. We'll show you when I'm not sharing anymore, how the color cap looks, but it will say R1.1, for example, and you're going to be, first number is the top number 1, and then the 0.1 number is the number from the left column. And so that's how you can find out where your marker is. The great thing about this system is because it all fits and it's all really linear, it's very easy to see what colors work well together. And I'll walk you through that now. So for example, if you look at the R color family and go to 2, the hue of 2, and then you go all the way down, straight down, you hit 2, and then you hit 5, and then you hit 8. That entire line is going to work really well together. Those colors are going to blend really well together because the 5 column and the 8 column are just simply desaturated colors of the same top colors up above in the 2 column. So they all work really well together. It's very easy to follow. Wherever you find your color on the chart, you can just go up and down, and you're going to have colors that work well together. Now, of course, there are lots of other colors in the same values. You know, if you look at R1.1 and then you go to RV1.1, those same color values are also going to work well together. But you're going to have to play, just play around with what you're working on to see how it works for the project you're working on or the image you're coloring or drawing. Other color systems have colors that don't really fit inside the system. And so what happens is you end up having to make basically just hand color swatches of everything, which is a useful tool, but you have to do that simply to find the right colors that work well together. With this system, automatically it's just very linear, straight up and down, very simple. This is how it's going to work. And we're not going to come up with colors that don't exist within this system. So you won't ever have something that's an anomaly kind of sitting outside. We'll go back up to this guy. You're gonna see here, might zoom in a little bit, if this helps. You notice our value goes to 8. When you start getting into the 9s, the color's pretty gray at that point. And so we've created a family of colored grays. And in our initial release, we've come up, I think, 3 or 4 red gray series for you to start out with. They're really, really great colors. They're really fun. We also have created a red black and a blue black, as well as a pure black color. Also a really fun colors to use. Something unique, something different. So if we go down to, well, here's a good page that describes what is printed on the end cap of the marker. So color family BG, the first number before the decimal point is the hue, the number after the decimal point is the value. It's pretty simple. It's pretty easy to follow. On OLO, you will notice that there are not color names printed on the cap of the marker. We would have loved to do that, but we couldn't because we chose to make the caps on OLO safe. We made them all safety caps. If markers are smaller than a certain diameter, you've got to do that to make them safe for a choking hazard. It just didn't leave enough space, but we do have a barcode, color name, AP mark, all of the things that you need will be on the side of the marker, along with the color name, because we know people really like to have color names for colors. So it is there, but you won't find that on the end cap. It will just be the color code. We went through that. We went through our hue groups here. We've kind of placed them side by side. So again, if you look at the red color family, the 0 and the 3 and the 6 all work well together. You can see them here in this image. And then again, with color value, as those of you who work with markers know, if you have a color value of 1 and 3 and 5, any color in the same hue, those are all, of course, going to blend well together. But we recommend skipping colors. A 1 and a 3 and a 5 are going to be a great grouping together rather than just using ones that are really close to each other. I'm getting a little bit into the weeds on that here, but my point is it's the same concept that you're familiar with in working with alcohol-based markers. So the last thing I'm going to show you guys is, zoom back out so you can see the whole thing here. This is the initial release of OLO. These are the 128 colors that we're releasing to get going. And I just wanted to finish up by talking a little bit about why we chose these colors. We created colors that are popular, of course, that are very common colors that people like to use. But then we also created a lot of colors in this system that aren't available in other markers color systems. And we did that because we know people have a lot of investment and a lot of other markers they may or may not like to use. And we wanted to give them something to be able to try, but it's not replicating what you already have in your palette. This way you can try these markers and they'll work fine with your other alcohol-based markers and get used to them, understand the color system. And as time goes on, we'll definitely be releasing a lot more colors. We will be regularly engaging end users, our customers, to help us determine what colors we should release next. I think it'll be really fun. I think that's it. I'm going to unshare my screen here. At this point, what I might do is, Alisa, if you can hear me, I'm going to just have you show the different components of the marker, just for people who maybe didn't see the last Zoom meeting where we went through a lot more in detail on the marker, but I'm going to do it quickly. So Alisa, can you show us just a brush chisel combo marker, or take it apart and show the different pieces? So OLO right now has the option of a brush nib and a chisel nib, what people are familiar with in a double-ended marker for the most part. The great thing about OLO is it actually comes apart. And there's a little connector ring in between the marker pieces. And this connector ring allows you to customize your marker. So you can customize your marker with a brush, chisel, or brush chisel as we have it here. And in the future, we will be coming out with a bullet nib, a fine tip nib as well. You also notice that the marker is color coded. The body is color coded itself. So you'll see that the gray body marker is the chisel and the black bodied marker is the brush. It's very easy for you to quickly identify which marker end you want to use. Even from a pretty good distance, you know which one you're grabbing. You can pull the cap off. You're never going to grab the wrong cap again. Another design feature is you'll notice that the caps fit on the end. People really wanted to have caps that fit on the end of the marker, and so we made that as a function as well. I'll quickly talk about, oh, great, Alisa, handle. The handle is an accessory that we created. So if you just want to have a brush on one end or a chisel on one end, and you wanted something that felt more like a brush handle, we've created a handle that screws onto the back of your brush, and you can hold it however you like to hold it. This is another item that will be available in a couple different colors, so you can customize your marker, as well as become different shapes and stuff like that. So it's something that we think is a really fun addition to this line. The other thing that I want to point out is that you see these half markers. Each one of those half markers holds as much usable ink as an entire traditional marker that's made differently. OLO is made with a patented technology that has a free ink flow system inside the marker. And so the ink is moving around inside there. With some technology here, you can see the ink moving around in one of our prototype markers. This allows us to put more ink in. It also allows for OLO to have smooth and consistent ink flow from start to finish. So people that are used to working with markers, you'll notice that the marker is really great and juicy in the beginning, and then it just gets worse and worse and worse until you've got a really scratchy marker. With OLO, it's going to feel new until the very last drop. A super smooth line that over time is going to stay the same. So it's all because of that special technology that we're using. So again, for a completed marker with two ends of OLO, you actually get two other markers worth of ink inside that marker. So the value is great. Now, for people are asking about refilling, which is a great question. So what we have is something called a replacement cartridge. This is what the replacement cartridge looks like. It's going to come to you with this little plastic cap on the top. And instead of pouring and dripping and dabbing your ink into this cartridge, what you're going to do is take off the side of marker that ran out of ink. You're going to remove the brush nib from that, and then you'll insert the nib into this new cartridge. It's very easy. The nibs are very durable, and then reuse the cap. So you're reusing the cap, you're reusing the nib, and that's it. You're done. The marker is refilled. You don't have any mess. You're not overfilling. No blobbing, leaking, those kinds of things. So that's how the refill system works. Got some good questions coming here. Are the color chips the end of the marker? Is the color the same as the ink? Good question. So what we've done is we have painstakingly worked with a company in Japan where these markers are produced, and we color swatch every color, and then we get plastic chips sent to us, and then we match it as best we possibly can. And we've been doing this for months. So yes, as well as it's ever possible, the color on the end of the marker and the ink inside the color will match as close as possible. Now, it will always change based on the paper that you're using, how many layers of ink you put on. And the other thing for everybody to just have in mind is plastic is made with pigment. Marker colors are made with dye. Matching those things perfectly is very, very difficult. So it's quite a process, but we have done a lot to make that as close as possible for you, because we know it's an important part of the process. Yes, the replacement nibs, we will have replacement nibs available in brush and chisel. And again, not sure exactly on the timeline, but we will release as soon as possible a bullet nib as well. We've got a question about reclaiming or recycling the waste cartridges. It's a great question. Here's a challenge. No alcohol-based marker, plastic that has had the alcohol inside of it, is recyclable, unfortunately. Obviously, there are proper ways to dispose of those pieces, but it's a challenge that we can't get away from at this point. We've, of course, in developing this marker, I've looked at all kinds of the best sustainable ways to produce a marker, even looking at trying to use recycled plastic and stuff like that, but it's not possible with this marker. However, everything that we do surrounding OLO, from packaging to displays, how we ship, everything that we possibly can will be done in the most sustainable possible way that we can. So it's great. It's a great question. Longevity of the brush nib. It's an extremely high quality brush nib. We have some prototypes out there and pre-production prototypes, which means they're just about the final product, like the ones you can see in the image here. And people really, really love the nib. It's a fantastic nib. The whole marker is made in Japan, the highest quality components, the best companies making the best parts and pieces. So it's very, very long lasting. But if something happens to it, you can replace it. Replacement nibs. I don't have exact pricing on the replacement nibs, but they'll be very reasonably priced, probably comparable to other brush nibs. Chisel nibs will be less expensive, but they won't be crazy. Color swatches we shared available when you purchase the markers, or we will have downloads of all of the color system when we launch the official site, which we're hoping, this pre-sale site that we have right now on olomarker.com will last through the end of June until we actually have the product in stock and are shipping the product in July. We'll have a brand new site with all kinds of information and downloads. Just so everybody is aware, the pre-sale special pricing along with the free replacement cartridges going on right now on olomarker.com ends the 24th of this month. Timeline for releasing colors. We don't have one, but we will try to make one. The reason is we're just so overwhelmed with getting the first 128 colors going and getting everything ready for this release, complete release where we're shipping in July, that we haven't created a timeline. And again, we're going to try to engage users for really figuring out what colors we want to add next. But we don't have a timeline. My gut feeling is that at least every year, if not a little bit more frequently, we'll be coming out with new colors for you. Somebody's asking about getting a prototype marker to try. We don't have that many available right now, but you can always email us and check in with us. If we get some more in and that's possible, then we can take those cases on one by one, but just reach out to us. But right now we don't have a whole lot, as we're going through testing everything, making sure everything is perfect with the marker before we ship the actual product in July. So it's a good question. Yeah, there on the chat screen, you can see the email to reach out to us. The easiest one is hello@olomarker.com. Any other questions about the color system or the product itself, how it's made? I can sometimes people ask us how we came up with the name. It's kind of fun. If you write the word color down and then you take the C off and the R off, you're left with OLO. That's how we came up with the name. And then we will use the slogan, the heart of color, with that on and off. I think it's kind of fun. The prices right now for a brush chisel marker combination will be $6.99. But as we get these out into the marketplace and as you're shopping for them online, they'll be available really in the half pieces. So it's really kind of, it's your marker, your way. You get to customize and build the marker however you want. So the brush half of the marker will be $3.80. The chisel half of the marker, $3.15. And then the connector pieces will be 25 cents or something like that. So that's the price range of the marker. So really you just start kind of adding up the parts and pieces to your marker. But then the one thing to keep in mind is when you do that, remember whatever you spent on a double-ended OLO marker actually gives you 2 traditional markers worth of ink. And some really cool things you can do. Alisa, I think, has some brush markers built, and there's 2 colors, different colors on each end. Let's see, I've got some more questions here. Are the pens, will they be compatible with other brands? Yes, they're compatible with other alcohol-based markers. They'll work great with other marker brands. Will they be available for purchase in Japan? Yes. This brand is a worldwide brand for us. Obviously, we're based in North America, but the markers are produced in Japan, and they'll be available for purchase there as well as everywhere in the world that we can get them. And we've had a lot of interest from all over the place. So some people are asking about how we're tracking a founding member for future discounts. I think Kim put a link in there. to show people, but your login information will be tracked and you'll constantly have your login information will be associated with that founding member discount. Speaking of founding members, things that will come along with being a founding member is a little more weight in voting on colors and stuff like that too. So we want to include everybody who have jumped in with us from the beginning in on those exciting projects like new colors, new ideas for handles, et cetera, et cetera. If I decide I don't want a particular color after the refill is over, can I replace it with another color of my choice? Or would it mess up the brush? You could do that. It'll take a little while for that color is absorbed in that brush nib. It'll take a while for that to wick out, but I think over time it will come out. It might look a little stained, right? Because it's a dye, but I think it will clean itself out over time. I haven't tried that, but it also might be worth it just to put a new nib in. But the ink will eventually shift. Can these markers be mixed with other inks and mediums? Yeah, it just depends on what what you're trying to do. I mean, the alcohol markers, using dyes, if you're talking about using watercolor, or if you're talking about using water-based pigment like lining pens and stuff like that, alcohol-based markers won't mix with those things. So you can use watercolor over the top, or colored pencil, or paints, or acrylics, or whatever. It'll work great. It's just about experimenting with it to see how it works on the surfaces that you're trying to work on. Pre-orders available for international shipping. Yes, yeah, and we made it pretty reasonable. I mean, I think it's $25 if you want to order and you're outside of the US, just kind of a flat shipping fee. Yep, you can do tip-to-tip coloring with markers for sure. The ink's going to transfer similarly to how you're used to doing it with other markers. We're going to release sets, and most of the sets we release will be available at our retail partner locations, and a lot of them are going to be brush combinations with color combinations in the marker. So basically a two-tone marker. So if you sell an 8-piece set of markers, for example, you're going to get 16 colors, and you're also going to get 16 traditional or other markers worth of ink in that set. And a lot of them are going to be brush. We will sell other colored sets, like maybe gray tone sets with brush and chisel combinations. But yeah, we'll have all kinds of sets. And on our website, there'll also be color suggestions for you to look at as well. We'll try to set it up so it's easy for people to pick out colors that you need to. But those sets specifically that we're going to make, we're just going to sell through our retail partners to help promote their businesses and support them. Will ever make a bristle hairbrush tip for these markers? I don't know. That's definitely what we like to do is get all kinds of requests from people and play around with it, make sure that it's technically something that we can do, and then if it makes sense, then we do it. So we have had a few people talking about that, not only now but in the past, about other markers, and I think it's something worth looking at for sure for actual bristle hairbrush tip markers. But alcohol is an interesting medium to work with. When you're talking about technology, it can be difficult, which is why markers until OLO have been made one way without any kind of special technology, because it's a major challenge to do what we've done. Yes, I know lots of people are looking forward to the bullet nib. We kind of had to pick and choose to get going, and that's why we started with the brush and chisel, just trying to hit kind of everybody. The chisel nib is a little bit smaller than what people might be used to. It's just a little bit, so you can actually really get some good fine tip work done with the chisel nib. It's pretty nice. But the bullet nib is coming, and it will be a light gray body color. So again, it'll be easy for you to pick that out. How are we doing for time here? I think we're doing okay. If people have more questions, shoot. If not, I think we're good to go. I'll leave you with, please reach out to us if you have any questions. Again, hello@olomarker.com. Just reach out to us with any questions you might have about the product. We're excited to interact with you. We appreciate all the feedback and ideas, and we're really looking forward to getting these into all of your hands. Thank you so much for being here today. I know everybody's busy, but it's a great platform for us to be able to answer questions, especially for those of you who are thinking of jumping in and getting these and trying them out in the pre-order. So I think we're there. Thank you guys so much. Take care. Have a great day.